Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a concept that Cal Newport argues is the key to thriving in a world that's, let's be honest, actively trying to steal your attention. It's a big idea that could fundamentally change how you work, how you create, and maybe even how you find meaning in your day-to-day life.
So let's just jump right in with a question that I think hits home for a lot of us. Does this sound familiar? Your day is just packed. Back-to-back meetings, Slack notifications going off like crazy, a mountain of emails, a dozen browser tabs open. You get to the end of it, you feel completely drained, but when you look back, you can't really pinpoint what you actually got done. You were definitely busy, but were you productive? And look, if this is you, it's not a personal failure. Not at all. It's a symptom of the modern workplace.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to cover 5 key areas. We'll start by defining what this superpower even is. Then, we'll help you figure out a philosophy that actually works for you. After that, we'll break down the anatomy of focus, show you how to start rewiring your brain, and finally, explore how this becomes way more than a productivity hack. It becomes a philosophy for life.
Okay, let's get into it. Why are we calling the ability to focus a modern superpower? I mean, that's a big claim, right? Well, the argument is pretty simple. At the exact moment this skill's becoming more valuable than ever, it's also becoming incredibly rare.
First things first, we need a crystal clear definition. This right here is our goal. Deep work isn't just, avoiding your phone for a little bit. It's about getting into a state of intense, unbroken concentration that pushes your brain to its absolute limit. Imagine a coder hunting down a really tricky bug, or a writer crafting that perfect, difficult chapter. That's the zone we're talking about. And here is its enemy, the thing that eats up most of our time: shallow work. You know exactly what this is. It's the busy work. Answering emails as they pop up, sitting in status update meetings, scheduling calls, posting on social media for the company. These things feel productive because they keep us moving, but they don't really build new skills or create significant value. They're easy to do while you're half distracted, and frankly, they're pretty easy for someone else to do too.
So when you put them side by side, the contrast is it's night and day. Deep work is what builds your career. It's what improves your skills and makes you hard to replace. It's the engine of real growth. Shallow work, on the other hand, well, it's what keeps the lights on. It just maintains the status quo. It really is the difference between building a cathedral and just endlessly laying bricks.
And this combination is what makes it so powerful. It's rare because our whole culture, open offices, instant messaging, this expectation that you're always available, has completely shattered our ability to focus. It's valuable because in our economy, the ability to learn complicated things fast and produce work that's truly excellent is what's going to set you apart. And finally, and this is so important, it's meaningful. This kind of intense focus gets you into that psychological state we call flow, which turns out to be a major source of genuine human satisfaction.
Okay, so you're sold on the idea, but how do you actually fit this into an already packed life? Well, the great news is this isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. You have to pick a philosophy, a strategy that actually fits your job, your personality, and all the demands on your time.
This slide gives us 4 really clear models to choose from. First, you've got the monastic approach. This is the most extreme. Think of a novelist who just disappears from the world to write. Then there's bi-model, where you split your time into big chunks. Maybe one semester you teach, and the next you do pure research. The rhythmic approach is probably the most doable for most of us, making deep work a regular daily habit, like 2 hours every single morning. And last, the journalistic approach, which is for pros. It's about grabbing any free hour you can find for deep work. The key is to just pick one and really commit to it. All right, now we get into the nitty-gritty. We've picked a philosophy, but how do we actually pull off a single session of deep work? This is not about willpower. I repeat, it is not about willpower. That's a resource that runs out. This is about building smart routines and rituals that make focus feel automatic. And to make sure we actually follow through, we can borrow this super powerful framework. Number 1, focus on the wildly important. You can't do deep work on 20 things at once. Pick 1 or 2. Number 2, act on your lead measures. Don't obsess over the final outcome. Obsess over the one thing that gets you there. In this case, the number of hours you spend in deep work. 3, keep a compelling scoreboard. Seriously, just a simple calendar where you mark off your deep work hours is incredibly motivating. And 4, create a cadence of accountability. A weekly review where you plan for the week ahead and see what worked and what didn't. As one Reddit user who totally mastered this process said, your ritual is everything. It's the signal to your brain that it's time to get serious. So before you start, know exactly what you're working on. Clear your space, both physical and digital. A great tip is to literally face a wall so you're not distracted. Your phone can't just be on silent. It needs to be in another room. For real. Keep a notepad handy so when a random thought pops in your head, you can write it down and let it go. Use a timer to create a little pressure. And finally, do something to mark the transition. A few jumping jacks, a quick walk, to signal to your body and mind that things are about to change. And a perfect example of this kind of intention is time blocking. This is Cal Newport's actual handwritten schedule. Look at that. Every single block of time has a job. Now, the point isn't to be a robot and stick to this perfectly. Things happen. The point is to be intentional, to be the boss of your time instead of letting your inbox or other people's priorities be the boss of you. And if you think this sounds impossible, just listen to this. This quote from a Reddit user named Fukovsky is so powerful because it's real. He makes it clear that focus is a muscle. You don't start out trying to run a marathon. He says at first he could barely last 5 minutes, but by practicing consistently, by building up those reps, the transformation is just profound. It doesn't just change your work, it changes you. So that brings us to a really critical point. Deep work isn't just a scheduling trick. To really master it, you have to fundamentally retrain a brain that has been conditioned for constant, nonstop distraction. Our modern lives have literally weakened our ability to concentrate. Let's dig into that a little because it's a huge idea. Cal Newport argues that our constant scrolling through social media, our endless checking of email, all these high stimuli activities have rewired our brains. Every single time you pull out your phone while you're waiting in line for coffee, you're teaching your brain, I cannot handle being bored, even for 30 seconds. And that just destroys your ability to do the hard, focused work later. The solution? You have to learn to embrace boredom again. And if you need any proof of where all our attention is going, well, the numbers don't lie. 143 minutes. Let that sink in. That's almost 2.5 hours every single day that the average person is spending on social media. That is a massive amount of time spent practicing the skill of being distracted, actively weakening the exact focus muscle we're trying to build. So, how do we fight back? Here are 4 very concrete strategies. First, try a 30-day digital declutter. Just get the apps off your phone and see if you even miss them after a month. Second, schedule your internet time. Just like you schedule meetings, have blocks for when you're allowed to browse. Third, actively practice being bored. When you're in line, just be in line. Let your mind wander. And fourth, when the workday is done, be done. Create a shutdown ritual that tells your brain it's safe to stop thinking about work and truly rest. And all of this leads to a pretty profound conclusion that goes way beyond just being more productive. The science writer Winifred Gallagher put it perfectly. Our reality is the outcome of what we pay attention to. If you fill your days with fragmented, shallow, distracting things, your life is going to feel fragmented and shallow. But if you dedicate your attention to deep, meaningful things, your life becomes rich and satisfying. And that's the perfect way to get into our final section. We've talked a lot about the how, but let's end with the why. This isn't just a strategy to get more done. It's really a philosophy for building a more intentional, satisfying, and meaningful life. But first, let's tackle the elephant in the room, the single biggest objection people have when they hear about this stuff. Wait a second. If I shut my door and ignore everyone, won't I miss out on something important? Want to get fired for missing an urgent Slack message? It's a totally fair question. Well, here's the reality. The research shows that the human brain can only really handle about 4 hours of true, intense, deep work per day. That's pretty much the max. So the goal isn't to get rid of shallow work entirely. It's to drain the shallows. You contain it, you schedule it, you stop it from spilling over and taking over your whole day. This leaves plenty of time to be a responsive, collaborative, helpful team member. And this all connects to the ultimate payoff: happiness. This quote from the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who's basically the father of flow theory, says it all. The best moments in our lives don't come from passively relaxing. They come when we voluntarily stretch ourselves to do something difficult and worthwhile. Deep work is a direct path to that feeling. It can turn your job from something that drains you into something that truly fulfills you. So, we'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. In a world that is fighting for every second of your attention, deciding where you place it is the ultimate act of control. It determines not just the quality of your work, but the quality of your entire life. So the only question left is, what will you choose to create with it? If this explainer has given you a new way to think about your focus, do us a huge favor and hit like, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more deep dives into powerful ideas. Thanks for watching.